Good morning, good evening. I'm so out of it. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Martha Wolf Show. I'm sorry, I'm late. I didn't realize what the time went. We had children in bed, back out of bed, back in bed, crying, this happening, that happening, something's wrong, something's stuck, my toy's stuck. Fix my toy. We had a lot of that situation going on. It is so cold, although it's been colder and then it's gotten a little bit milder. But I've been shopping today, getting some gloves and things like that for my kids, like with nice stripes on them and just things like that to keep them comfortable. All right, we did the feminism versus anti-feminism debate and commentary on that, which was cool, and it was kind of confusing, and I was siding sometimes with this side, sometimes with that side, but never quite, which is a frustrating place to be. There's a part 2 to it, and we're going to go through it and sort of go on to a few tangents about the topics that they talk about. So obviously we covered a bunch of topics in the first. They covered a bunch of topics and I commented on it. And now in this one they talk about a little bit more the contentious things that you sort of think of when you think of feminism, like abortion, sex, and voting. It's actually like probably the most contentious issues that they talk about this time. And maybe there's a reason they pushed that to later. Maybe it's how they edited it. I'm not sure. So yeah. Let's wait a second. Let me find it. Here we go. Let's find it. Let's see if the browser is yes, it's working. Let's just jump right in.
You would rather serve capitalism than serve your man, the man that was put here to protect you.
Yeah, but does your man make enough money so that you don't have to work? This is my thing. If we're talking about family units, these are two people. They get to decide what happens in their unit. And reality is some men are not going to be able to provide all that they can. Talk about pressure. I feel like feminism was good for men because it kind of relieved them of a little bit of pressure.
It lifted everybody up.
Well, yeah, but
really
it's made men so much more depressed than ever. It's made them weaker.
I think they just don't like the fact that now they see, oh, women can be as good as us because now that we're allowed to have all these rights.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on anything that has the previously. It's just sort of a little recap of the previous half of the interview, sorry, it's been a little bit stressful. I'm a little bit out of it. Forgive me. But yeah, let's see what the new topic is.
Why do you have to be as good as men?
Why do you have?
Only women should make laws about women's bodies.
So in the feminist side, it's actually a kind of a mixed opinion, which is interesting. At least more interesting. On the anti-feminist side, every single person has a thumbs down. So they all think men should have a say about female. I mean, the whole body, like all this kind of discourse, like we understand this is like reproductive rights, abortion, contraceptives. That's usually what that's about, right? No one's talking about like, surgery for cancer or like no one's talking about that stuff.
No. Yes. I'm not sure. Okay. You haven't spoken much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that if we want women to be able to vote on things like the draft, which affects men, which I don't think should exist, then I think that, it's not a per se men's or women's issue. It's a human rights issue. It's an equality issue. I think that conversations about like who should be able to vote on abortion or something like that is like, I think a lot of people on my side fail to see that there is a genuine concern with people who are pro-life because they do believe that the fetus is valuable, that it's similar to a baby. And I think if you have a serious issue like that, then I think all people should be able to vote on that. I don't know why it would be exclusive to like women particularly.
I'm going to say something controversial, but I think that men should step in a little bit more when it comes to laws, even more now, because like they were saying, like women are emotionally led. That's what I believe.
So the the feminist girl said the baby, basically she's saying in more vague terms, the baby's not just a woman's issue, it's also men's issue, therefore men and women should vote on. Like, that's actually not what you would expect. Like, once again, if you're in the kind of conservative right wing and you're disliking feminism, that's not what you think feminism is. And how good of a representative are the feminists for feminism? It's hard to say, right? But for the sake of this video, I have to kind of at some point accept that the girls on the feminist side represent feminism, at least within the scope of this debate here. Otherwise, you're just always going, oh, well, see, the feminist is holding a view that's not feminist. Oh, she's not even really feminist. Like, that's not leading anywhere. Like, that's completely denying them the ability to make a case for what they want to make a case for. There seems to be a lot of sympathy towards men on the feminist side, I'm just going to say. And not just like, I'm sorry for your sympathy, but like, we want you as equal members of society.
Like right there.
I can laugh.
Well, it's just like it's just like so many reactions. It's constantly. Yeah, it's emotions. Like men feel their emotions, but they can also conduct themselves. At least when I'm in rooms with them. Yeah, but I will agree with the violence, right? But I also say that women, they're making decisions on. I'll even go away from the abortion topic. Lip filler.
It sucks because she just can't stay with the abortion topic and make her point on it. Like, that sucks a bit, but I could say, like, basically she wasn't willing to actually fully make the point, because I think it's so... I'm going to make the point that she should have made if she was being honest about what she thinks. She thinks women can't make rational decisions about a life within their own body, the baby in the womb, and the man is going to have a more rational perspective on that and what should be done with that. And of course, as a Christian, she's pro-life anyway, so she would only agree with the man's decision if the man decided that the baby should live anyway. So it's like, it's really hard for her to make that case. You can see how they're scrambling and struggling over here, because what do they actually stand for? They don't like the feminist vibe. They don't like all the women working. They don't like the destruction of the family, all that stuff. That's fine. But then going, I'm an anti-feminist, it's just, you're coming into this panel and you're not actually able to have a firm stance on anything. It would be actually really cool, even if it was a really, really bad stance, at least if it was firm and clear, so we know what you're saying. Do you think men should make the laws, like probably as it used to be, about all those sort of issues? She's not... Basically, yes, but she's not willing to defend it because it sounds so bad.
We see women from the media, they're getting injections everywhere, BBLs, they're putting their life on the line to get BBLs because that's the propaganda or whatever they're putting out there. And so I just think that men should step in a little bit more to protect us. Like, yeah, you can make the decision to go out there and alter your whole body, but at the end of the day, those women are putting their life on the line to do that. So that's why I say I think our men should actually step in more when they see that we're destroying ourselves.
So she's painting a picture of women getting all this cosmetic surgery done, kind of, they're carried away with vanity. I'm not saying it's untrue. And then, but the man, they are objective and they can step back and be like, wait a second, stop doing... Maybe in certain, but once again, this kind of tells you more what sort of subculture these people are coming from. Like, in my culture, like in my world, it's not a thing. You'll see the odd, honestly, freak show, very, very odd. I'm talking like 1 in 100. I'm talking like 1 in 50 absolute maximum in my social life, who has done all that stuff, where that would even be an issue. And at that point you would say, this is a specific personality issue, and maybe it's okay. Or, it just wouldn't occur to me to think, oh, there's a problem with women doing too much alterations to their body. We need men to step in. Like, do we need men to step in, or do we need, like, better regulation of medicines that are injected, or better information about what Botox does or what these different things do to you? And do we need that? Or do we need to maybe not have media that is promoting a lot of this stuff? Who's producing that media? You're telling me the people producing that, the people funding all this kind of stuff, the people profiting are not men, and they're probably going to be disproportionately men. It's kind of like a blindness, like it's just seeing, like turning on the TV and seeing like the Desperate Housewives or whatever it is, and being like, oh yeah, see, these are the women. It's like they're clearly selected, like extremely selected. People go on these kind of shows, highly selected to look a certain way and look kind of an extreme way. That's not your average population. It's interesting because I do think people's views become distorted and warped around what are other people around me like, what are people in society like. And I'm a big promoter of, honestly, don't engage. I think I've said this before on the show as well, like don't engage in fiction unless you're just, if you can handle, but you just don't know if you can handle. Everyone's going to say, well, I can handle it. I can distinguish between fiction and reality. It's like, you're better off watching a movie with like dragons and magic where it's like you cannot really have the doubt. You can't walk around everyday life and think that that's real. But this kind of stuff is so warped. It's like kind of thinking like everyone's really wealthy, everyone lives in this like massive mansion, or you know, everyone just has so much free time. Like everyone's like on Friends, the TV show, where everyone just has like this really reliable and steady and long-term like group of friends. Like that's just not the case. It's just not how most people live their lives.
Like in that sense, and that's just kind of one example I want to give.
Maggie, you made a face.
Oh, I made a face because I was talking earlier.
And to sum up what she said from an outside perspective, it would be being exposed to her community, probably like African American community. I'm talking about the girl who was speaking just then with the dress on, and being exposed to media, and I don't know to which proportion she was exposed to which, has made her misogynistic. It's made her react in a hateful way, and I don't really blame her. But it's like, don't expose yourself to things like that. Expose yourself to good people. Make friends with wholesome families who are productive. Make friends with people who are doing good things in their lives. Problem solved.
I do agree. You should let people fail fantastically if they want to. Sometimes people have to hit rock bottom, and I say let them. And I think that's how some people have to learn, unfortunately.
The reason I'm saying women should have more of a say on our bodies than men is just, if we look at history, men have had the only say on our bodies. They used to perform like gynecological operations on us in a room, a theater they called it, with just men. And like, can you imagine being a woman, going under procedure, you're strapped to a table, and there's just a theater of men, and there's not a single woman in there dictating whether or not this is a good thing that should be happening. Like, we didn't have a say. We should have a say. We haven't had a say. We should. We haven't.
I think, so one of the things that I take kind of with this romanticization of the past is, if you look between the 1950s and now, almost every single marker of flourishing is up as women entered the workplace, as women entered policymaking. It turns out that all Western liberal democracies have given more agency to women, and they have consistently outperformed other countries that don't do this. And there's a reason for this, right? Which is that
Yes, potentially, but like what kind of markers are we talking about here? I mean, birth rates, they do fluctuate. They have been pretty low before, then they went up for like baby boom. That's why it's called baby boom. They were low, they went up, they've gone back down. Like it's pretty bad for a lot of places, not just, it's definitely not exclusive to Western liberal democracies, and potentially, like I said, some white groups do have good fertility within those cultures. So I'm like, it's kind of mixed feelings. I'm a little bit relaxed. And that's why I'm not like hyper opposed to feminism as well, because I can see that there is a degree of survival in that, or at least within a society that leans heavily that way. There can be subcultures like Mennonites and Amish and things like that, or Orthodox Jews that still maintain really high fertility. Now, I'm not advocating for their way of life. I'm just saying what it is, you know. At some point, you've got to accept that some groups flourish in terms of numbers and some groups don't. You can say, or you can make all these arguments for feminism and how great it is and this and that, reproductive freedom, like they're pretty good arguments a lot of the time. Obviously, for dignity, equality, they're good arguments. They're really, I think a lot of people will feel those arguments and feel convinced. But at the end of the day, if you're not having enough children to sustain your society, and to you don't have enough young people to defend your society, to maintain your economy, and to just be a sustainable population, whatever that means. Obviously, there's so many aspects. There's production, there's economy, there's there being enough childbearing women to have the next generation of children, and then there's having enough young men to have some men expendable in warfare and things like that. If you just can't do that, well, then the experiments failed. And that's where I'm critical of the feminists. I think not that these conservative anti-feminist black women are going to have any better birth rates than these girls. Like, I'm not convinced that either one is going to have more children. I'm not saying in this particular panel, but generally speaking, like, how is it going to work long term? It's fine for 50 years or 100 years, but how is it going to work for long term? Are we just going to end up with subcultures and other populations around that don't have the women's rights liberation, all that stuff, without going into detail about it, just outcompete and just move in, or move from the inside out?
We're always better together. We're always better together. This idea that men are more logical than women, they just like, the reality is like the emotional landscape is like way more complicated than that. And good, wise decisions usually include emotions anyways, right? So men being less emotional would be bad for wisdom. And I don't think that men are less emotional. I think they're the same. And so every marker of flourishing has improved. I guess, what would your rebut to that?
I think that they feel emotions. I just think what I've noticed is that they're not so emotionally reactive, unless if we look at the studies of like men that are in prison, they usually come from single mothers, from what I've seen.
I actually don't think there should be any laws on women's bodies. I think the only people who should be making decisions about what medical procedures a woman is receiving is herself, because she is an adult and can make choices for herself. And
so frustrating because we're jumping between different topics. No one's willing to stay. It's like, I think this whole abortion thing is extremely uncomfortable for people, and that is actually how most people feel about it. But we're just not able to stay on the topics. It's really hard for me to respond when we're switching and changing topics. We're going back to single moms, which, like, yeah, it's like massively harmful to divorce, and to not have a whole nother parent in the picture most days. Like, it's kind of complicated just saying, oh yeah, like, single mother households produce children with all these kind of problems. It's like, yeah, but who are we comparing that to? Are we comparing it to other families that struggle equally economically? Like, let's say an unemployed father. Are we comparing like apples with apples here? Like, the mother's not going to be able to provide as many resources. Is it a resource problem? Is it the neighborhood problem? So they're going to live in a bad neighborhood. They're going to be renting. They're going to be stressed. The mother's going to be out working all the time. Then the mother's going to bring home boyfriends who are going to then abuse the child. The child's going to be neglected and abused, basically, and poor, and unable to somehow invest in himself, and unable to attain status in the peer group and things like that. It's like, it's just complicated. It doesn't necessarily mean that, like, oh, see, women have bad character and they parent in a way that instills bad character. Like, that's just not, I don't think that's what's happening here. There's a lack of, you could twist it the other way and say, oh, look, single mother households produce all these bad outcomes in children. No one's really denying that. But then you could say, see, it's the absence of the father. See, it's fathers abandoning children. It's fathers not being role models for children. It's fathers not loving the mother and protecting the mother actively that leads to all these bad outcomes in children. So you could just phrase it that way. And suddenly it's an anti-man point and not an anti-woman point. You can phrase it either way. It's just sort of silly. Okay, but we're back to laws around women's bodies.
with her doctor, because those are the only people who should be making decisions when it comes to women's bodies. I don't trust men to take a list and go to the grocery store and execute that successfully. I certainly don't trust them to put laws on my body and execute that successfully.
So she's emphasizing the biological differences between men and women, just saying this is the feminist side, just saying like they struggle to do stuff and obviously making a bit of a joke about it, but I'm just saying, like, discourse on the feminist side does include, just to point it out, an emphasis of the differences between men and women.
Women are dying in Texas because of laws on their body. A woman was strapped to a life support machine where a baby was forced to be made when she was only 6 weeks pregnant, and the baby is now severely disabled.
I wonder why the baby became disabled. I actually don't know the story. I might look it up and then comment about it next stream. But yeah, just the idea of just the woman being like this passive vessel for life, like it is. There's more going on. Like you don't think your like if you don't move around, your lymph system becomes static, right? Your circulatory system is going to struggle. Like a pregnancy is not just you lying in bed. Like that would be very, very, very bad. Pregnancy is so hard on the body. You are like shifting. You are like trying. If you sit a certain way or lie a certain way during pregnancy, the weight of the baby can cut off circulation to certain parts of yourself, but also to the baby itself. You can't just lie there like a vessel, like an object, and gestate healthily. I'm not saying I know why the child is disabled. If the child is disabled, I don't know. I'm just saying from my experience of pregnancy. You can see how it becomes infuriating to women. It's like when you're pregnant, you're basically struggling for life. You're trying to keep yourself alive. You're just consuming. You have cravings. You want certain things. You don't want certain things. Like you're using your whole brain, your instincts, your feelings, your movement to navigate, to give the baby everything. It's not just, well, it's in the body. Oh, I'm getting enough IV fluids and I'm getting like nutrition. That's not enough. It has to be specific. You need so many things. And do you think you don't need to move or talk or have anything? Like the baby's completely devoid of stimulation from a gestational age, let alone, like I said, circulation. I don't even know. I'm sure there are many other things I can't even think of because I'm just not trained in medicine that would be going wrong if you're just lying there being pregnant. And now the child has no quality of life. That's terrible.
And that was a law by man. I don't think that men should be making decisions. If they can't find the clitoris on image, I don't care what they think about my uterus, okay? Like, that's my opinion. No more laws on women's bodies, period. Women are adults. They can make the right healthcare decisions for themselves, along with their doctor, who is also in the right place to make healthcare decisions. Should lawmakers be making healthcare decisions at all? Hope not. Hope not. I don't really care what Mike Johnson has to say about my baby hole.
And what I noticed listening to that, because I was listening to this while like doing other things and it was sort of half in, half out, and I was like vacuuming and stuff like that. But I was thinking a lot of their points made on the feminist side are really, they're kind of libertarian points, but just also applying that to women. Whereas like men coming and making libertarian points about all kinds of stuff, you would never really connect that to feminism. If anything, libertarians are usually slightly more on the right. I was like, how does this work? How does this work that there are libertarian guys? Would they agree with this? Would they be on board with this? So then eventually, I'm not saying on every single issue, but on all these issues, would they kind of be more on this side, generally speaking? Are there feminist libertarians? I don't feel like it's a label I've ever heard or I've never heard that explored, but it does seem like it works together. And as someone who I'm very sympathetic to libertarianism, I would sort of consider myself a libertarian, not that I'm nerdy about that sort of thing. But this seems to slide in and like connect to that really well. It's like what I appreciate about libertarianism is the idea that you kind of, society is not gonna hold you and cradle you and force you into decisions whether good or bad. It's not only the bad stuff, but also the good stuff. It's obvious that like, it's kind of like, yeah, you want to force, everything is forced in our society so much, and maybe in other societies more so, maybe in China more so, right? Like, well, you have to force a child to be educated. And I'm not saying like parental authority should be undermined. I think libertarianism with maintaining parental authority would be potentially a good system. I think it should be tried. And I think that's closer to what we evolved having. But then we had the parental authority, and I think no one would really seriously want to abolish that because it would be detrimental because a child's brain's not fully developed. But we have also historically, and are still in many ways, or at least until recently, applying that kind of parental authority, but from the man in the life of woman to the woman as well. So it's almost like the woman is really only one step above the child in many ways. And I think that is legitimately how that was justified, historically speaking as well. It's like, oh, women don't have the same logic and intelligence as us, as men, basically. They don't understand the world the same way. They kind of like have a bit more outbursts and this sort of thing, a bit more emotional. It is that sort of reasoning. And then, therefore, basically, they're going to spend the rest of their lives, at least their younger lives, under male authority. So either your father, your brother, or your husband, of course, once you get married, or you join some other kind of like a society or like a convent, some religious thing, and then you're also under some degree of authority. And that's sort of how women were managed. And I'm not one to say like, oh, see, women don't have to be managed at all. Yes, I think a lot of women have to be managed. I think most children, like 99% of children, have to be managed, right? I think a lot of women have to be managed, but have to in order to what? What's the goal? What's the goal? To achieve a maximally like peaceful and functional and flourishing society? Yeah, potentially women should be managed to achieve that. But if you want to have, but the libertarianism for not just for men, but also for women, which is kind of what these women are arguing for without using any of those terms, would create a very different evolutionary pressure. And that's what I'm interested in seeing. And that's why I'm not completely opposed to this stuff. I think some women don't need to be managed. They don't need to be controlled. They don't need a man's authority. They can cope quite well. I think a lot of women would benefit from it. But also women can seek that and place themselves under that protection if they want to. And so isn't that kind of beautiful? You can seek a husband, or you can ask your brother or your father for help, advice, maybe about, who knows, about investing something, or maybe help with certain topics or issues, or maybe for protection for certain events, I don't know, or for wisdom or guidance. But you don't have to, and that's where I'm kind of, once again, leaning more towards the feminist. The feminists would not like what I'm saying here. But I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm still okay and happy with their agenda, because we are basically just weeding out, like genetically weeding out a lot of women and a lot of men. And maybe that's okay, is all I'm saying, is maybe that's kind of okay. Maybe we'll end up with a slightly improved phenotype at the end of this in like another 50 or 100 years, or maybe 2, who knows.
Oh, that's how I feel about that.
If you don't have them making any laws towards women and their bodies, then that means that you wouldn't have a doctor that could lawfully give you an abortion, right? So that means, because you're not, the baby just doesn't naturally die. If we put no laws on the book, then they wouldn't be able to give you an abortion.
If we didn't put laws on abortion, they could just perform an abortion. Like, that's the reality.
But what if the doctor doesn't want to perform the abortion? What if he doesn't believe?
What does that have to do with law? That has to do with their choice.
But if there are no laws on the book, then that means that nothing can be done about it.
Well, that's not true, because there will still be doctors who perform that procedure. Like, I see the point that you're trying to make is, oh, if there's not a law in the book, these laws are not.
Again, I think she's right. I think the feminist white girl is right here again. Like, there would have been things done. We would have had a society at some point where you could go to like, and I know it sounds a little bit fairy tale, but I think there's fairy tales for reasons. There would have been a society at some point where it's like, oh yeah, you've got an issue, you've got a weird problem, you've got a weird health issue or something, go to this crazy woman, and she lives at the edge of town, and it's basically a witch, and you would have gone there, and she would have given you some crazy herbs. And now that would be semi-illegal. And this woman wants to go back to it. It's a libertarian, it's trad, right? Like, it's libertarian, it's trad. How is this considered the left-wing position? I just cannot concede that. she's just saying don't like criminalize. I think this is kind of silly, but basically, when I sort of zoom out, I see this as a trad position. I see this as going back to something that's more close to what we used to have in many ways.
Not about expanding access to abortion. These laws are about diminishing access to women's health care, which has resulted in the actual very real deaths of women across the United States or near-death experiences of women all across the United States. Like, there's not some law on the book that's somewhere that's like, you get to have an abortion now
that's not
because
most
it's
cases.
here.
You guys always talk about like the smaller cases. It's not
Well,
most
those smaller
cases.
cases matter because anybody dying is too many people
But what about the
dying.
man that seed you are carrying? Do he have a say? Do he have to pay for your child now that you have a baby? So he has no say.
Well, he does have a say with his body. It's at ejaculation. I'm glad we had that conversation.
So-
My
and
body,
also-
my choice, a uterus, his.
I'm struggling to follow. I'm struggling to understand. Okay. So if the black lady saying basically, well, if the woman has a choice about having an abortion, having a child, not having a child, where does the man where does the man's right to choose that come in? This is what they're saying, talking all over each other. And she's saying, the feminists are saying, at ejaculation is your chance to make that choice, this choice or that choice. And once again, isn't this like ultra trad? Like, aren't we going back to just biological reality, like uninterfered with reality of the way it's always been? How is this the feminist side making these arguments? This is like ultra trad. I like this. And I basically agree with this.
Body, his choice, ejaculation.
So you have a choice to decide that, okay, I don't want to keep this baby.
Right, because that's
and
my
he
body
has
choice.
but he has no choice in that.
No, his body
But then
choice was ejaculation.
Okay, but
Yeah,
you
our
have
bodies
a
work
choice,
differently,
but-
so I'm glad we're having this
Once he
conversation.
ejaculates, can he not pay for that child? If he has a choice, right?
Well, he didn't make a body choice that was appropriate for him, is what I'm hearing here.
But you're
you're
have
telling
a
me
half
his
of a
body choice,
human
he doesn't
being-
agree with
you
it
have
now.
a half of a human being that belongs to him in your body. So,
Yeah,
like,
but he
where's
had a
his
choice at
rights in that?
ejaculation,
So it's
didn't
all
he?
about me. That's
Did
what
he
I
have
hear.
a body choice at ejaculation?
Did he have a body choice? You let him
No, did he have
decide
a body
of you.
choice
You
at
both made a
ejaculation?
choice. You opened
Oh, you're
your
blaming the woman
legs.
for ejaculation?
Yes,
She doesn't even have a dick.
You opened your...
And they cannot accept this. They cannot accept that a man has agency and can make a decision of whether he has sex with a woman or not. They cannot accept this. This is so outrageous to them. Like, what are you talking about? The burden the man carries, especially in the early, like, through the pregnancy, is basically zero. If he cares about the well-being of the baby, he'll provide and protect for the woman. But a lot of men don't. And then in the early years, it's still reasonably low effort because the woman will do most of the infant care and the toddler care. So it's like, and in this day and age, the kids also go to, preschools and daycares, all that stuff, and school. So where's the problem? Why do they have such an issue? Oh, well, you opened your legs. So it's like, they can't accept the whole, that a man would have agency whether or not to make a baby with a woman. But then it's straight back into shame. Oh, but I'm shaming you for your sexuality. But it's like, so they can see it they can only conceive it as the woman can make a choice. So they can only flip it around and say, well, but a woman makes a choice whether she gets pregnant or not. But they're saying, well, but the man also makes the choice whether he gets a girl pregnant or not. And I think the feminist side here is right again. They're just right. Both, isn't that kind of beautiful? Both man and a woman have a choice whether to take a risk or a chance, whether you see it as good or bad, to make a baby. They both have a contributing factor. And if anything, the man has more agency in sex because he's stronger. It's harder for a woman. It's quite difficult for a woman to rape a man, but it's not that hard for a man to rape a woman. So if anything, a man, if you don't know the circumstance or you don't know who says what, they're bitching and whinging about it. If anything, the man should have more of the fault of the conception of the child attributed to him. Or equal, either way.
Legs. Who grants access to sex? Women do.
Oh,
not
I'm
men.
sorry, you're blaming
'Cause you'll be
women
like, they're
entirely.
Who grants access to sex? Women do. So once again, she's blaming the conception, the unwanted conception, on women. Well, who grants access to sperm? Men do.
They're raping me.
This is why I
then.
can't have a conversation, because I just told you that both men and women have a body choice because our biology is different. I let you know that men have a body choice. You agreed that ejaculation is a body choice that is had by men. And I said, great, that's their choice.
I think
And you
both
went,
of you
well, then
guys
it's
had it.
women's
Once
fault
you
for letting
opened
them
your
finish
legs, that was a
inside.
body choice. And
Okay,
then
so
he made a body choice. So now we
let
have
me
to
ask
decide
this
what we do
question.
after.
I don't know if this is also what you're asking. So if everyone made their body choices and the baby is here, are you saying then the man should have responsibility for that child or should not?
I'm saying that if she wants to get an abortion, I mean, she wants to keep a baby and a man doesn't, then he should have the right to say, no, I'm not paying for it.
Once the baby comes.
Yes.
To be clear, this is the anti-feminist side. This is what you would think of. Not that they're explicitly saying it, but this is the trad side of the debate. They want men to be able to get a woman pregnant and then not provide for the child. So, is this just reinforcing black culture? I mean, is she trying to push her culture onto us, onto these girls on the other side? She's obviously not consciously doing that. I'm not saying she is, but I'm pointing it out. That's what it is, right? They're defending the men of their culture and not trying to do cultural change. Like, they don't see any hope of having any change on their behavior. That could be really positive. Because a lot of black people right now, they're having extremely low birth rates. It's not like these guys have 5 other kids to take care of. Some of these guys obviously do, but that's not what's happening in the black community. Let me tell you, they're having extremely low birth rate, and if anything, this would be the most positive outcome. Hold men accountable, and not just within the black community, in every community. Hold men accountable. Just do a DNA test. It's not even difficult. It's not that expensive. Do the DNA test. It could be standardized. It could just be like a standard thing that everyone does, or just offer it. Or in case of any grievances or disagreements, just do it. Like, make it like mandated. And force responsibility onto men and women as well, of course.
He should have that right then. If we're talking about equality, why do he have to pay for your body choice?
Well, his body choice was ejaculation. So we each had a body choice.
But you opened your legs. That was your body choice. You said yes.
Question. I just have one question for you though. Like, so are you? Because I don't know where you stand on Roe v. Wade. Like, do you think we?
And she's kind of right. Like, women kind of have that choice twice, I guess, if you would ever consider abortion, which some women wouldn't. But you have the choice to have sex. But once again, I think that the man has more agency in that. So the woman's choice shouldn't be considered as strongly. But they're not making that argument. But also, they've got a camera pointing in their face, and like, I can sit here and pause the video and like think about it a little bit, and they're in the moment. It's heated, you know. And I totally don't blame anyone for like not maybe making. I wish they made a few more arguments or made them a bit more strongly, a bit more clearly, and they're not. And that's okay. But it's the black girl's pointing out, basically, it seems like women are making the choice to have sex, and then they also have the choice whether or not to have an abortion, and the man only has the one choice. Yeah, but then that's ignoring all the coercion, all the social pressure, things like that women, especially younger women, or especially disabled women or whatever, are experiencing, and also just straight up rape. I mean, it's just like, it is definitely a thing. And to what extent, I don't know. I don't know what percentage.
Should ban it?
I think that
Because if you allow a man to say, I don't want to pay for it, then you're really forcing women into slavery here. Like, you're going to be forcing women to be single moms.
I believe in the 3 exceptions. I think that life of the mother, obviously, rape, incest. But obviously, I don't believe that you should kill a baby. You shouldn't kill a baby, no.
Okay. But you said like, oh, but if a man doesn't want to be a part of it, he shouldn't have
I'm using
to.
your logic. I'm using your logic. If you're
She's basically just making a case, once again, for her cultural group and the way that they do things. The man can go and sleep with whoever, make a baby here, make a baby there, get a woman pregnant, unwanted, and he has to take no responsibility for it. The responsibility is on the woman. And so the white women are saying, this is completely outrageous. You're forcing a woman to be a single mom. Like, this is terrible. And I would agree with them because I'm from the same cultural group and I have the same views on things and I have the same feelings about things. Like, paternal involvement in our children's lives is extremely important. We value our relationships with our fathers, like the pink-haired girl was saying in the last video. Like, for us, and the feminists are not saying it like this, but they actually did. They sort of hinted at it. It's like, our fathers are very important for us. They are involved in our lives. They mean a great deal to us. And like, we don't just want to bring children into the world without fathers. But the black women totally would. But I would love to see their positions. If you just put white women there that were anti-feminist, what would they say? I don't actually think they would advocate for this. And I also don't think they would say what she's saying, which is that, well, of course, in cases of incest and this and that, you can have an abortion. Like, she's, once again, it's always the same with this girl right at the end. She's always making a case for keeping things at the status quo that they are right now. It's not really anti-feminism in terms of winding back the clock.
My logic was using your body choice.
But if you're going to say that you're going to have a baby that is a part of somebody else that's inside of your body, another part of another person is inside of you, then they should have a say.
Do you feel like there is no wrong reason to get an abortion?
And this is the one thing she says that is really important. The child, yes, the woman carries the burden of childbearing, the pregnancy, the childbirth, and the early breastfeeding and infant care and things like that. The woman, and even beyond that, women carry disproportionately the burden of children in the early years. And that's why I think, to equalize it, really, we shouldn't say, have an abortion, it's up to you because you're carrying the burden, which is essentially what the feminists are saying. But it's to say, we will force parental investment. We will ensure parental investment beyond the early time where it's mainly the maternal investment. And I think if you fix that, you probably would fix a lot of abortion. I think you would fix a lot of it, because I think a lot of it is young women going, I cannot be a single mom. I cannot do this all alone. I don't have a support network. Because we don't hold men accountable. And there was really no way of properly doing that back in the day, so it hasn't culturally evolved. But now that we have DNA tests, we need to, like, I'm being very progressive here, we need to use the new technologies that we have to hold men accountable the same way that women are held accountable by their own biology for the care of the child, to be clear.
I've seen so I have 11 siblings. I'm the oldest daughter. I've seen plenty of pregnancies. I've seen my mom go through miscarriages, and I think that probably affects the way that I view like childbirth. But I think as long as a woman wants to get an abortion and it's within a reasonable time, everybody's going to have a different opinion on what the reasonable time is. I don't think it's second trimester. I don't think it's third trimester. But like before a pregnancy comes to term, go for it. But if it's like getting to the point where you can see, like, it's such a hard topic. But I think elective abortions are fine before a certain time.
Right.
Yeah.
To the financial abortion, I'm actually okay with that. To this question specifically, for me, personhood seemed to be conferred around 12 to 15 weeks. So I would want the same rights for men and women. Yes, personhood. Because the thing we're valuing here, well, when you say human life, what you mean is another human being that we equally value. And the reality is that, like, at a certain point, this is why I can ask you guys this question. You've got a burning building, 2 rooms, 1,000 zygotes in one room, just recently fertilized eggs, and a baby in the other. Who are you picking?
I don't think they actually answered this question very well, but it is one of those things where people divide a lot on it. But I think she touches on something that is, yeah, if you had a bunch of petri dishes, maybe not petri dishes, maybe like little vials or whatever, I don't know, glass things. yeah, with fertilized eggs, like they're only a few days old and then they're frozen or whatever, however long they're developed. I don't think they develop them very long before they freeze them, like the IVF clinics and stuff like that. Yeah, loads and loads of them versus one baby, let alone a baby that you can see and hear and it's like cute, or your own baby. I mean, there's no question in my mind. And that's where she's touching on something that is, she's tearing down basically the kind of Christian proclaimed belief that, oh, life starts at conception and they're all equal. Well, no, because even if you believe that, it's like not something that you believe in you would act on it, you feel it, your instincts are driving you towards it kind of way. That's like saying, I believe in only eating 100 calories a day, but you're like smashing food, like burgers and stuff all day long. But then you're saying, I really believe in it though, but I would never do it.
But that's like not relevant.
Who are you
to
saying
abortion
relevant?
is
When you
wrong
want
or
to
not.
say that they are both
Are they inside of a woman's body?
No,
'Cause
there's
of the-
zygotes that once you put them inside a woman's body, they will be fertilized. Yep. It's human life if you believe in life.
Feminists are right. This is very relevant to the topic of abortion and like when you want to do abortion cutoff lines, which the anti-feminists have not really said anything interesting on at all. At least the feminist side is legitimate. This is kind of like this is from a different podcast and a different topic, but it's like living culture versus dead culture. Like there's living culture is like, what are we? Who are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? What's our next step? Wait, what are our rules again? This rule is not working for me. This rule makes no sense. Can we change this rule? Like a culture that's still evolving, where there's debates between people, genuine debates that could actually affect change. And you see that a bit in the feminist side here. There's always been a little bit of a divergence of opinions. They don't always have a very clear, and I actually wasn't expecting that. My view on feminists has been more that it's more monolithic and more like clear. But I think what makes feminists hard to grasp and like criticize, it's really hard to get them all on one thing, be like, you're all wrong because one thing, because they have divergent opinions, because really they're a representation of our current living culture. Our current culture is debating these things. It is tossing these ideas around, tossing this information around. If you're on Twitter, if you're on X, you will see this. Like there's stuff comes out and debates come up and people are throwing this and throwing that, and there's actually aggressive and rigorous debate in our society still, which is a great thing. You can be black-pilled about our society all you want, and there's a lot to be black-pilled about. But we are still evolving. We are still trying to integrate, and I don't mean it necessarily biologically, but yes, also we are biologically evolving, but I mean like our ideas, our culture. We are still trying to integrate new technologies. We're still trying to integrate new knowledge, whether that's, in this case, might be like ultrasounds or IVF or this or that. And the other side represents, to me, and it's just such a clear picture to me, they represent a dead culture. A culture of, well, this is just how it is. Like the girl right on the right-hand side of the end, she's like, this is just how it is. This is the way it is. Like she's just explaining the way things are and trying to sort of, but that's not a position. That's not an ideal. You're not telling me how to move forward. You're not telling me how, like, society is shifting really rapidly and they're not aware of it. They're just living stuck. They're not part of any kind of progressive movement. They're not part of any movement, really. They're just overwhelmed and uncomfortable with the massive societal change and not willing to position themselves within that or address it.
One person talk at a time. It's too confusing.
Yeah, I'll walk this through. Who are you picking? The baby?
zygotes are not fertilized.
They are fertilized. Zygotes are always fertilized.
But what I'm saying is your question has nothing to do.
Oh, this is why I called last night's stream. Actually, this is not why I called it that. They said other low IQ things. I hadn't actually watched this video until today. I watched it today. There's a low IQ problem on the anti-feminist side, okay? It's dead culture and it's low IQ and it's people who cannot keep up with current debates. They cannot keep up with just the idea of integrating new things is too much for them.
With
It does.
No, it really does.
Then why
It
wouldn't you
does.
answer it?
And aren't you
It
a
would be so
Christian?
easy. Yeah.
So why don't you believe that that's a human life?
Because
Because
life at
begins-
conception isn't even biblically established. Even the Pope would tell you this. There's no idea of when ensoulment begins. So if you want to have a theological conversation, we can go there, baby. But the issue is that when you talk
There have been debates in the church at some point about ensoulment. When does ensoulment happen? Like things like that. But most Christians these days, and I'm not saying that makes it right or wrong, but they will tell you at conception is like when a soul enters the zygote, I guess, something like that. But yeah, none of these anti-feminists are willing to say, yeah, of course I would let the baby burn alive and save all the petri dishes. Like, once again, you're here to defend a certain position, like at least defend it, but they're not willing to do that. It's actually really interesting. It's really bringing up like the way that they will kind of say things, but they don't actually truly feel it.
about personhood, we are talking about when we confer moral value to another being. And I believe it's around 12 to 15 weeks because I think secular people value consciousness. And I think consciousness is the best representation of ensoulment. That's why I value it there. But legally, I'm for the
And yeah, even the definition of a soul, like if you care about it theologically, and even if you completely disagree, if you don't believe in it, that's putting that aside. It includes the intellect. Well, there's no intellect in a few cells. Well, she's saying consciousness. Some people don't even believe in consciousness, so this is already more spiritual than like if you go fully secular and take like all spirituality away. We are not even believing really in consciousness at this point, but this is her take. Yeah, there is a time before there's any intellect, so how can there be a full soul in it?
complete decriminalization. Because what we see in abortion is that, first of all, no woman is just like being like, I've carried this for 6 months.
Right.
Man, I just want to kill it. Almost every single time, it is a absolute tragedy, and I'm not barring her from care. What we see in decriminalized states versus criminalized states, mothers die more, babies die more, children go into poverty, and children go into foster care. An 11% increase in Texas when they started banning abortions into foster care, which is just a tragedy. Mother deaths increased in Texas by 6% with this. Baby deaths increased by 12%. So when I'm talking about decriminalization, I'm for it all because I want mothers and babies to live. But when we're talking about a moral question, which is what you're interested in, when does ensoulment begin?
I would like to disagree with what you said about every time a woman has an abortion, it's some type of tragic
I said
decision.
after 6 months, just to clarify.
Okay, because what I have seen is that women are using abortion as birth control.
No, they're
And
not.
No, they're not.
what I
And they're both correct for their own community. And that is the top thing. We are so many times in this debate, we are debating different cultures. Well, in my culture, it's this way. In my culture, this would be really bad. This wouldn't work in my culture. Well, I see this all the time. I see women getting butt lifts and lip filler. Sorry, I'm going to stumble over my lip filler. This is so horrible. Yeah, this is in your community, babe. Like, we're living in a different world. We live in a different world. We are not even talking, really, we're not even really, we might be in the same culture more broadly speaking, but there's different subcultures. So we're not in the same culture, we're not in the same cultural group. I'll leave it at that. And that a lot of the time is what this debate comes down to. This is not even feminism versus anti-feminism. This is like, what would work in our culture? How do we want to continue our culture versus how you want to continue your culture? And let's just not phrase it like that, but pretend that we live in the same world, which we don't.
I have seen.
That's not even what the word birth control means.
Million a year.
Okay, if I may finish. The protests, abortion on demand, my body, my choice, do whatever you want to. My concern, again, as an older woman, when we are all gone, what is going to be left behind if we look at families and children as disposable? I say, why do we have to take the nuclear option as the first option? There's over 30.
And she's not wrong. That's what I'm saying. She is right. Like in the Black community, abortion, that's what she said, is used as birth control. It's used frequently, commonly. It is, she's saying like the nuclear option, like this is really, really bad. That is what it's like in the Black community. That's the effect it has on them. The white feminists marching in the street, you know, oh, we want this. They're thinking of the absolute worst case kind of scenarios. We're thinking of incest and rape and you know, a child that's severely disabled or a mother who's extremely, extremely unwell. They're thinking of those sort of scenarios because that's when that demographic actually gets abortions. For in the Black community, it's just like a routine thing. It's extremely common. So they're coming from a completely different perspective.
30-something forms of birth control for women. I don't know how many of them were created by women when we want to talk about laws. I'm sure there were men scientists that came up with these ways that we can prevent abortion by preventing getting pregnant if you don't want to. But I would just disagree. I think women are using it as, oh, well, not always. I'm sure there are reasons that are tragic. I've never had an abortion, thank God. I was able to deliver without issue. My husband and I planned for those children.
Do you want to know the best? Sorry, do you mind if I jump in?
Go ahead.
Do you want to know the best policy for reducing abortion and increasing childbirth? The best policy is making birth free and providing comprehensive welfare care for mothers and children. This is why
There's no such thing.
Nothing is free.
Sorry, when I say free, I mean universal health care.
Okay. Hi, loves. It's me again, Dr. Michelle Duff.
Let's skip the ad. Skip the ad. Skip the ad. Skip the ad.
They have blessed me. The next prompt is, white women benefit the most from the feminist movement. Okay. Well, almost everyone agree, but then not quite. Okay, why don't you go ahead and share?
I don't think any woman benefits from feminism, but I do agree if we're like.
I nearly need to okay, almost, did everyone have a green thumb? Was it every single person? Wait a second. Everyone has a green thumb. Okay. I'm surprised that on the feminist side, they all are putting the thumbs up for that. But that's kind of interesting. And it has kind of shown in some of the responses they've given as well. It's like, there's a bit of a chauvinism in the white feminists. That's interesting. I wasn't sort of expecting that. But then what I'm also surprised that the anti-feminist side all has a green thumb. So they do think that the feminist movement benefits women because they are saying it benefits white women more. So they are now all conceding, except one. They are all conceding that the feminist movement benefits women. It just doesn't seem like... It's like if I was on the anti-feminist side and really, really trying to make the anti-feminist argument, I just wouldn't be saying that. But anyway, it's so odd.
Well, almost everyone agree, but then not quite. Okay, why don't you go ahead and share?
I don't think any woman benefits from feminism.
She's at least trying to be consistent. She's the only one at least trying to be consistent with, oh, I'm here to argue that feminism is bad, okay? All the others have basically abandoned this. What?
But I do agree if we're playing into I don't know. I don't really like to, because I don't like feminism, I don't really like to even acknowledge any kind of a benefit or anything because I just don't agree with it as an ideology. But there is that race element to it. So.
Do you think?
So she's not even really able to say anything. She's just so unsure. She's not making a strong case. It just sucks. How do you even argue with that? It kind of benefits white women more, but also doesn't benefit anyone. Now I'm really confused because these two things are contradictory, and then when you say things that are contradictory, your mind becomes completely overwhelmed and confused by trying to you're trying to lie in too many ways, and it actually requires a really high intellect to lie in a complex way like that. You're not able to do it.
Being able to choose your career or wear pants or drive or vote or anything like that is something that feminism has brought about, or what do you think brought that about?
Well, I just don't. If I had to choose my womanhood or my motherhood over material gain, I would choose my womanhood.
I just want an answer to the question, please.
No, I think it's materialistic.
But don't you have all of those
But
things now?
that still does not answer my question. There's been a lot of non-answering questions here.
I don't think
Because you guys are going
feminism-
completely off the prompt. The
Yeah.
prompt is white women benefit more.
Yeah, they do. We agree. Yes, they fucking do. But white women always come up before everyone else most of the time anyway. That's just the thing. It's still, sorry to bring up race, but like white people in general. So if we're going to talk about women, yeah, did it benefit white women more? Of course it did. Because we still had to.
It's tricky because she's not answering the question of, well, do you think that XYZ, wearing pants, voting, driving cars, do you think it was brought about by feminism? They're not able to answer the question because if they say no, those were just natural changes that happened through society. And this is an argument that for years I used to make, which is like, I can't be anti-feminist because being anti-feminist is acknowledging feminism as a movement that's brought about things, or as an ideology. Oh, people have adopted this ideology and then therefore they did things. It's like, but wait a second, technology changed. Like, if you don't have power steering, it's really hard to drive a car. If you don't have like safe roads and maybe airbags in your car and stuff, like, it might just not be the best idea for women and children to be driving around everywhere. And lots and lots of different things. I mean, from household items like the toaster, the washing machine being a big one because it's a lot of labor. It's like, if you do your own laundry, and obviously there were women who did that, like for work, they would go from house to house and do the laundry or whatever. If you did it would probably be like a whole day of just washing, a whole day of just baking, like different days of the week had different chores. Now, I love that stuff because I would just love to live in a historical village and do all those things for like a while. But when you have technological change, like being able to distribute goods much more further, like having assembly lines in industry and jobs that are easier for women to go into, and all these sort of things, and then schools for more people, because maybe like the girls' labor, maybe girls and teenage girls, their labor wasn't as needed in the home anymore. So now you can get educated. Like, you're telling me it's all feminism, like it's floating around, like people treat it like it's some sort of gas in the air, like, oh, people breathe it in and now they're suddenly acting completely differently. Like, no, it's society changes through technological change. That's sort of my take on it. That doesn't mean that there aren't women who stand up for things and make a case for whatever is an issue at the time. Oh, hey, like, we really need to be driving places. This is an issue, or, oh, we really need a law about this or that, or, oh, we have domestic violence. Like, look, blah, blah, let's consider that. There might be women, because it affects them, because it affects their friends and family, that they stand up and make those changes. But feminism is really just the term to kind of cover this really, really, really broad thing happening in so many different countries and so many different cultures, kind of simultaneously moving and at different paces and changing over time, and just issues that come up being addressed. But it's very hard to say I'm anti-feminist and then not be able to acknowledge any of the changes that feminism has made, or, as I would put it, developments that would fall under the umbrella of what we would call kind of like the feminist movement.
Tackle the civil rights movement. So human rights.
I see why you fight for it.
So I mean,
All of those movements are movements to get you to do things. It's not you thinking for yourself.
This movement was so that we could decide what we wanted to do.
Well, most of the stuff that you guys said you wanted, you have now. Now it's to the
Because
point where you
of
have allowed
feminism.
men.
Because
You
of
have
women
literally
before
allowed
me.
you physically allowed men into your movement. It just contradicts the whole movement. When you allow
No, it doesn't. We're not against men.
transgender women are men.
Oh God, we're not going there.
Yeah, they're men.
we
You guys
go.
allow them in the movement.
I think in general, movements that are about any group of people is always going to best serve the majority population within that group, and also those who already have other privileges conferred intersexually in other areas, which is why white women are going to benefit the most from feminism, right? This is going to, if you look at class-oriented stuff, generally poor white people will benefit significantly more on certain measures than other groups of people, right? This is just generally the case, in part because of just numbers. There's just more of them in that group of people, right? And because of that, you're just going to get more outshiners and stuff like that. You're going to get people who benefit maximally from it. So this is mostly a population issue. Yeah, there's more white women. White women will disproportionately benefit from feminism. But I guess maybe I could answer Matrix about feminism doesn't confer any benefits because you don't like feminism. I think one of the issues, so one thing that happens on my tribe that I have a major issue with is we don't acknowledge any of the good things from the established institution, which they call patriarchy, that has benefited everyone, right? And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Feminism just has given you a credit card. I don't know what else it could even, nothing else is attributable here, right? It just did give you the right to vote. Right? It did give you these choices. And I get you don't like feminism, but unfortunately, that's what is to blame for these things. You can dislike feminism and still appreciate.
Yeah, well, I would nuance that. I would put that a bit differently, and I would say, you know, someone raised an issue, there was an issue in society, there was a way that society was structured, and there was rules in society that they were not working anymore, and so people changed it. And it falls under the umbrella term of feminism, like as a movement of social change, because it seems to kind of be many things heading in the same direction. But yeah, I can't really firmly disagree with her, but just that word, it just doesn't lead to fruitful conversations, I find.
What historical feminists have done.
No, I can do what I want. I can not like it, not contribute to it, not be a part of it, not have a credit card, not vote. I can do that.
I just meant to be, I guess
No,
I
I'm
meant to be
just-
intellectually
Okay,
coherent. You
cool.
have to, but it's fine if you don't want to. That's fine.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think
That's funny. Yeah, but to be intellectually coherent, you would have to. Exactly, thank you. She's so in over her head. Like, she's not, she thinks she's a lot more intelligent than she is. She needs to be making much more simple points that are on her intellectual level. The curly-haired girl at the end. And she's getting in over her head. She's not even understanding the words at this point.
I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think what maybe these women feel is that maybe those things are important to you, but they're not important to them.
Right, but the difference I think here between like maybe it's confusing for you guys, but feminists, I don't want to tell you what to do with your life. I genuinely don't care what you do. If you want to have a baby, I want you to have it. Actually, if you want to have a baby, I want you to have a baby, because those are the people who we want to have be parents, right? Like,
It really sounds very similar to a libertarian argument. And that's where I like it more.
feminism is all about choice. If you want to be a trad wife, I want you to be that trad wife. I hope you find the man who can provide for you in this economy. That's all it is. It's just about having choice. I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. I would never tell you guys what to do. But I feel from your point, you are telling us how to live lives. Like, a lot of the time it comes off as you're wrong if you do this, you're bad if you do that, and I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong about your decisions for yourself. I'm not your mother. I don't know what's better for you, just like you guys aren't mine. So that's my only problem here. Feminism is just a way of, it's an equalizer, so we can all come up together.
I feel you. I guess, like, for me, like, the reason why I really opt out and I'm strongly against it is because I don't really hear you guys acknowledge any positive things, like, about motherhood, like, at the forefront of the movement. Like, I feel like a lot of the stories that are told in feminism or feminist theory and stuff, it's always, like, these terrible, tragic, sad stories. And, like, even the women that you reference, you know, as our feminist leaders, like, they didn't live very beautiful, amazing, extravagant lives that any little girl would want to aspire to live. And so I feel like a lot of time, well, Mary Wollstonecraft, Susan B. Anthony, all of these feminists, they all had very tragic, sad, like, traumatizing lives. And so even when they take, like, anecdotes, like, of other women's lives, it's always a highlight on, like, these terrible things. And it's like, why can't we teach women how to be happy, how to, you know, submit and enjoy that, how to appreciate what their body can do? Like, I don't understand why that is something that's shunned, because, like, y'all's faces are turning. So that's what I'm trying to say is, like, why is it always, why are all the bad stories amplified? That's what I'm curious about, because that's not every woman's story. That's not every woman's experience.
No, you're right, it's not.
No good story comes from everything going right is a quote that I've heard that I think maybe might answer that. But with back to the prompt, we all agree feminism benefits white people, white women the most. How do we actually bring everybody else up? Is there any, like, people that disagree with feminism? Like, how do we bring everybody up?
I think we bring up our community by turning towards each other instead of against each other. And I think if you look at it as a balanced approach, I'm not going to deny the fact that women can work, we can vote, we can own, we can do all those things. But I think it is foolish to only look at that and not look at the harm that feminism has caused, especially minority communities. I'll speak as a Black woman.
That's a really important acknowledgement. She's great. She's actually really good. She's saying for the first time what I've been saying this entire debate. Some communities can handle certain social dynamics, gender roles, and some communities clearly cannot nearly as well. And she's basically saying that. She's basically saying here, Black communities, we cannot handle the social change that's happening. And it's benefiting the white women more. I think it's a really important question to talk about, you know, like, I think it's really important to pick this apart. It's really, really interesting. But they will get there. Like, they will get there. I'm not saying where there is, but there's always going to be winners and losers, and the ones who can handle it will survive and go on. It's always going to be the same way.
Black women get married at 1/4 the rate. And that is not helping our community because we're going against our men, and our communities are stronger because we are better together. So I think when we promote healthy families, when we promote the nuclear family, when we promote husbands and wives, moms and dads, boys and girls, that is how we get better. Feminism is not going to make us better. Feminism is actually making our community worse.
I didn't know that feminism equals like not getting married at a higher rate. Is that what you guys think feminism is? Is it just don't marry?
I mean, it leads.
Well, she's being dismissive and not understanding, you know. I don't know if it's feminism that's causing Black men and women not to get together and get married, or at much lower rates than white people. It's probably more the availability of, I think casual sex has a much bigger pull for that community. And they're going to be pulled into that kind of, I mean, a lot of people are, but maybe only for some years of their life, maybe not for 10 or 15 or 20 years. I think there is a stronger drive and desire in Europeans, and I've always said this, and I've said this on the last stream as well, especially Northern Europeans, to pair bond, to be stable together, to form long-lasting relationships and have children. It's a stronger desire, less so in Southern Europeans, which is why their fertility is so low, and obviously also less so in the African derived populations. Hispanics, I'm not even so sure. I actually don't know. So once again, we're kind of talking about two different cultures who have two different issues. They're going to have different problems.
To not get married because men just don't like masculinity. They don't like
So you think
women
if you're a feminist, you're masculine?
I mean, like you can take a look at this row of how these women are dressed. They're dressed very feminine, all of them.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, the middle girl, it's like I said in the beginning, like she's very sort of performatively overly feminine. I don't know. I don't think it's really a good point to make. I think people would generally say that Black women are more masculine by nature, like quite apart from what you're wearing and what shoes you're wearing or anything. There's definitely an aggression and a masculinity in Black women, like most people would know and acknowledge. And so you're saying, oh, it's really important that we act feminine so our men actually like us. Well, that's obviously not what's historically worked. Otherwise, you wouldn't be the way you are. I don't think it'd work. Why not be strong? Why not be fierce and strong and, you know, as you are by nature? Like, it's all good. Just chill.
And then look at you guys. Great, cute. And I'm not. She's you got your dress on. I'm not even. And this is not a dig at you guys. It's not a dig, but it is. But it's just to say that I mean, men are more attracted to that. You know.
Kidding? That is insulting. Yeah, men will.
She's straight up saying, outside is more attractive than yours. We're down. I love this. It's like this whole conversation is just degenerating into like just basic, like, almost elementary school, like, cattiness between girls. But only from the anti-feminist side, right? That's what's happening, I'm just saying. Oh, that's funny. See, we present ourselves in a respectable way because that's what we think. It's like you're modeling constantly what would a man like and then trying to reenact that, but like not even doing a very good job of it. Rather than sort of just. I'm not saying be like some of these feminists that like dress in a way. I think it's almost to repel men on purpose, to be quite honest. So they're actually still doing the same thought process. It's like, if men saw me right now, how would they feel about me? Oh yeah. The one side goes, I'm going to try to be as attractive and appealing as possible so they're like nice to me and then I can submit and fit into their social order, right? That's the anti-feminist side. And then the feminist side's like, I'm going to try to repel them so they leave me alone because I have bad experiences with men. Like, but it's still based, and I think that's a lot of female behavior, not just how we dress. I think it's a lot of female behavior is based on you learn to model the male mind. Not saying all men, absolutely not, but like the men in your environment, your dad, your brothers, and then maybe the boys you go to school with and things like that. You learn to model the male mind, what they like, what they don't like, what they respond to in what way, and then you just manipulate constantly by acting a certain way, by dressing a certain way. And that's probably not really different here on either side. But wouldn't it be cool to come to not even a middle ground, because this is the same approach basically, but just dress in a way that is comfortable and sensible and makes sense and like good for the weather and maybe, you know, practical and comfortable and yeah, but that's not how clothing works, is it? It's always like a communication.
Put their in what they can put it in.
And they won't
So the
stay
fact
with
that
them,
she's
but
no.
they will
She just sat
marry.
here and looked
They
at all
will
of us
marry.
and said, "Oh, this is what men want."
I mean, ask them.
The reason that I said it benefits white women more, I don't think it benefits women at all. But if we go back to like Margaret Sanger starting Planned Parenthood and abortion, she was part of the eugenics movement. So she wanted to kill black babies. So that is part of the feminist movement, was to get rid of black women's babies and the black population.
I think that
I'm so glad the argument came up because there's a really common argument on the anti-feminist side and it's a really good one and I think it is historical. So I was so interested to see how they're going to respond to that because they could completely fold, at least on that one point, right?
this actually speaks really well. I forget your name. I'm so sorry.
Maggie.
Maggie.
Yeah.
Maggie was saying this as well, and it's something I echoed, which is that there's a really big problem that happens in our tribes where we don't want to look at the bad things that's associated with them. And I would totally agree with that, right? I look at that and I'm like, I don't think that's great. I like Simone de Beauvoir for lots of reasons, but I don't love everything. I don't love everything that feminists do, right? When I say that I'm a feminist, it's because the ideology, which I would label as feminism, is for the promotion of femininity and like the advocacy and empowerment of women. I think that that's good. So look at the third wave of feminism, which you're probably going to have an issue with. The third wave of feminism was a very white woman movement. It was mostly fixated on getting women into work and wasn't celebrating things that are associated more typically for women with femininity. I think that that's bad. But you look at the fourth wave movement of feminism, and that's corrected. That's why I like the fourth wave of feminism. So we can have bad actors, we can have bad ideas in feminism, and still identify with the idea if you choose to, right? And this is why I choose to. I don't stand by every feminist. I mean, we've disagreed on this side, right? We're heterogeneous necessarily. And yeah, I guess I'll let you rebut to that.
Well, our country was founded by white men who raped their slaves, but it doesn't mean that I'm not proud to be an American, just in the same way that I would say that I'm proud to be a feminist. So.
And the final prompt is, there is no.
I think they handled that pretty well. That was handled quite well, that whole Margaret Sanger thing. So they were not endorsing it. And yeah, I can't really add much to that at all.
No shame in having a high body count. No.
There's no, okay. They're kind of like a double negative. Like you're saying no to a no question. Okay. There's no shame in having a high body count. And let's see what the...
No. Okay.
Okay. Once again, on the feminist side, there's some disagreement still, which is cool. On the anti-feminist side, all one monolith of answers, which is again what I'm saying here. It's not genuinely an evolving culture that still has debates and stuff. It's just like, well, How was it in the past? Oh yeah, this way, therefore it's good. That's all.
Well, I think that shame leads to repentance, and repentance leads to changed behavior. And so having a high body count, like, for example, I talk to people in my community, in the Christian community, and I speak with people, and women that do have high body counts, they tend to struggle with like BPD, borderline personality disorder, other personality issues, comparison, even struggling with being satisfied in the bedroom with their husbands because they had so many other sexual partners. So I do think that there should be shame. I think there should be shame of men.
The reason I'm not commenting is because the response is really, really good to this. So I'm just gonna let it play out.
Are sleeping around. I will say that there's accountability for that too. That's not right. So, but this is like our Christian beliefs. So in my Christian beliefs are both of us should be waiting until marriage. So yeah.
Well, I want to address the statistics there because people with higher body counts do show higher satisfaction in relationships, specifically also like couples who have more sex over time experience happier sexual relationships like that. The other thing, I want to make sure that we're getting the causation right here. Women or people with BPD struggle with higher impulsive sexual behavior. It's not people who are more sexual struggle with BPD. I want to make sure we're not like saying this thing is causing like high sexual behavior is causing BPD. It just happens to be that this group of people, that's like saying that people who have like hallucinations struggle with schizophrenia or whatever. We're like, okay, well, yeah, you're going to look at a population that has a high level of that and say, oh, well, they have high levels of this. Well, yeah, that's like the population you're looking at. That's like saying,
Yeah, it's like this why it's just so perfect. She's done such a good job of taking down this line of argumentation of the anti-feminists. I mean, it's like going into a prison and being like, I've noticed this murderer has like violent outbursts and like strange behavior. Oh, that must be because he murdered someone. Now this is how it affects him. It's like, is that more likely, or saying people who don't regulate their behavior well, they have violent outbursts, are going to be more likely to like do like a hot-blooded murder? Yeah, obviously the other way around. That's why you can see certain behaviors in people from childhood and it ends up they are a psychopath, or it ends up they become a murderer, ends up they become, I don't know, a homosexual or something like that. Certain behaviors show at a young age and it just manifests.
also that men happen to be more suicidal and then saying like, oh, it's a thing with men. Like it is just a fact about being a male that makes you more suicidal, which is not true. That like you're getting the causation kind of mixed up. I want to make sure that's very clear.
I mean, I feel like I'm going to speak from a whole different type of language where
I'm speaking from a different kind of language. You have been flattened. Like, you're done. You are cooked. Oh, this is so bad. Like, she should just be like, yeah, you're totally right. And that I would actually respect.
I think that when you are laying down with someone, you're creating a soul tie. So I do think that that will lead to
What's a
some
soul
type
tie?
of just
I'm gonna go into these really esoteric spiritual beliefs, and like I'm so cute, and because I only ever talk like this makes me desirable among the men in my community. So I'm gonna go into public and put this persona, and that's totally gonna work.
spiritual bonding.
Do you have like an
within
argument that there's like a spiritual, or is this just like religion?
It's like, yeah, you're losing the argument. Oh, there's a spirit that told me. Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's just my religious beliefs, yeah.
Okay, there's no evidence. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Anyone else?
When the feminists came in and be like, yeah, it's my religious belief that like I should have abortions constant. Like, they're not coming in and making spiritual and religious beliefs because they're living in the current world and reading current literature and statistics and getting on with the current debate. And the other side is just zoning out. You might as well just start smoking dope.
I feel like we're looking at different statistics on the relational satisfaction because women with higher body counts get divorced at a far higher rate. And they also, it's harder for them to pair bond with their husbands because they've had so many past partners.
So pair bonding.
But also, if you pair bond, if you feel really, really in love with someone, you're not going to be sleeping around in the first place. Like, how do you even do that mentally? Like, have you ever been in love? Have you ever had a crush on someone? Like, you are not touching anyone else. And there are obviously, not everyone feels like that for, you know, a long, long stretch. People have those stages and phases. But for some people, that might be like really, really long. Like, oh, I have a boyfriend for 5 years straight. And that's it. And there's no desire outside of that. And I totally get that. But there are also people who might feel that way about someone for 3 months and then not. And then about someone else and then about someone else. So they're not pair bonded in the first place. That's why that behavior is emerging. Plus other socioeconomic factors, parental divorce, and it's really hard to pick apart because what's genetic and what's caused by the environment. But leaving aside whether it's genetic or caused by, you know, abuse, trauma, parents divorce and stuff, or if it's genetic or both, probably both, you can understand that. Like, it makes sense. You don't pair bond easily. You're going to sleep around a lot more. You're feeling very bonded, very in love. You're not going to sleep around. Even if you don't have access to that man. Like, you might be super in love with someone and you don't have any access to that guy, and you're just not going to bother about anyone else.
Surrounding research is really not super strong, right? This idea of like oxytocin being released and stuff like that. The pair bonding is quite weak, evidentially. Like it's just increasingly becoming an unpopular theory around sex and sexual bonding, right? It seems like intimacy and closeness over time predicts closeness rather than these sort of things. I guess to kind of speak to the shame piece more directly.
Yeah, I think the idea that you have sex with someone one time and then you formed a pair bond, this is like magical thinking. I don't think it's true. I think she's right. Like, it's over time, spending, like, yeah, that exposure over time, spending time with someone, having sex with someone over time, that will make you bond. It's not like a quick thing. Unless maybe if you're a teenager and you like see someone, it could be like a celebrity or something, then you might have a really strong crush, but that doesn't really happen beyond like puberty.
Being Christian as well, there is immeasurable amounts of sexual shame in the church. So guilt, when you're talking about repentance, guilt drives behavioral change. Shame doesn't. Shame drives lying and closing down and not talking to others. If you look at the rates, for example, of vaginismus, if you guys don't know what that is, it's when sex and any form of penetration is exceptionally painful for a woman. It is 3 times higher in religious groups. As a woman, I'm married for 8 years. I only have a body count of 1. I came from a very Christian background. My Christian background and the tying of sexual shame that was there was so hard on my marriage. And in fact, if you talk to a lot of religious women, they're going to tell you this, right? A lot of my friends, for example, say, my virginity was so tied to my value that when I lost it to my husband, I thought I was dirty, right? Look at the rates of orgasm amongst religious married women. So shame in general, when it comes to sexuality, seems mostly just to lead to worse outcomes. There can be conversations about impulsivity, right? About choosing who your partner is more wisely. I'm actually open to those conversations. The issue is that when we shame people for their body count, it's disproportionately women, right? If you look at these, and I agree that you're consistent, it's both for you. Look at these red pill podcasts. All they want to do is get their body count up and shame women for giving them that body count, right? This leads to worse relationships.
What is a high body count? I'm curious. What's the number? What's the number?
I don't think it's necessarily a number. I think it's more so the idea of sleeping around.
Again, they're not willing to take a strong stance. Like, if it's your stance, like, then make it strongly. Come on, like, have some balls here. No balls to be found. But yeah, I think she made a really good point around shame, and maybe, look, the only disagreement, it's not really disagreement. The only thing I would add to, what's her name, the corset girl, is that perhaps different sort of people are religious and different sort of people are more likely to be, like, not in a conservative church. I guess it is like a subculture to be in a conservative Christian church, so maybe a certain type of temperament of person ends up in there. Maybe that's partly what's the issue, but otherwise I do agree with this.
for no reason and not having
Well, there's definitely a
any
reason.
commitment.
I know, right?
Sure. And I would actually agree with the shame part in religion. I think purity culture can be very dangerous. It's seen as more of a sin than anything else, and it's very damaging to women. And we
You're on the wrong side. Make an argument for your side. You want to bring back shame, right? Like, if you're going to be the anti-feminist, you're going to bring back quite strict if possible, virgin until marriage. Okay, the husband dies, you remarry. Okay, like, you don't have to be a virgin to get married. I don't think it was ever like that, but make a case for it. Like, this is so piss weak. I would like to see this debate redone with actual, and it honestly will probably end up having to be men, but actual anti-feminists who really, really want to wind back the clock.
see this even in marriages, like you said, women still think sex is a sin in their marriage. I think that's a problem. So I think it's not so much I don't think we need to bring back shame to women. I think it's more so that being sexual and being promiscuous shouldn't be celebrated as much in our culture as it is.
Sure, but the prompt was specifically, is it more shameful, right? And you guys said yes. That is necessarily bringing more shame to women for this. That's necessarily doing the thing you're opposed to.
Okay, well, I mean, I have a yes or no. So I'm not going to say no because I don't think that being sexually promiscuous is good for anyone. So that's why I said.
The prompt.
Okay. So I want to chime in here and say that I grew up in a very conservative religion that shamed you for any type of sex outside of marriage. What did that lead to? What did shaming people about body count lead to in that kind of religious situation? People lied about it. Here's the natural truth about humans. All of us have sex, even when we pretend we don't have sex. We are all.
Some people legitimately don't have much sex. And like statistically as well, like there's just people who don't watch porn, don't masturbate, don't have sex. Like there are people like really not that sexual and people who are really sexual. There's just like a distribution. But of course most people are somewhere in the middle, right?
Still having sex. I don't care if it's the 1950s or it's 2025. Every person is having sex. That's just the reality of it. Some people want to have sex less than others. Some people want to have sex more than others. And none of that is about who they are morally as a person. I am a person who happens to consider myself to be hypersexual. It's just part of who I am. It's always been part of who I am. And when I was 14, growing up in a very religious church that told me that who I was as a person was bad, that was really harmful for me as a person.
I would agree with her that whether you're like a really horny person, like a very sexual person or not, or in the middle or not very sexual, that doesn't really have any that doesn't place you anywhere morally. It's how you deal with that. It's like anything. You're born a certain way, you are a certain way, you develop a certain way, and then how are you going to deal with that? I guess, if you want to make this a moral thing. But like, people, honestly, what annoys me in Christian communities is people who maybe they're not very sexual. It's hard for me to say because that's not something you can just read out of someone. Can you? I don't think you can. But like, they're short and they're unattractive and maybe they're young. Like maybe they're like, I don't know, 21, 22, whatever. And it's like, they're on a high horse for not having done a lot of sexual sins. And it's like, have you even had the opportunity to do sexual sins? Like, what if you were a tall guy who's attractive and like women are coming to you on a weekly basis? Like, then it's actually a temptation. I'm not saying what you should do either way, but then you have a high horse to be on if you actually have you have the temptation there. Like, it's just, everyone's in such a different circumstance of how their biology is wired and how they feel about that stuff. You're not a worse person if you have a lot more sexual access and a lot more people who are sexually interested in you. You are dealing with a whole different set of temptations. And the same if you're hypersexual, like this girl he's saying. You're not a better person if you're like, oh, like I have a massive hormonal imbalance and like my mom gave me soy-based formula. Now I have no sex drive. Hooray, I'm more moral than you guys. It doesn't work like that.
I was depressed as a child. I was on antidepressants. I thought something was broken in myself. And when I finally left that religion and the shackles of the shame that had been placed on me by the patriarchy in that religion, I realized There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just this type of person. And here's the deal. People who like to have sex with a lot of people, we like to date other people who like to have sex with a lot of people. And people who don't like to have sex with a lot of people should date people who don't have sex with a lot of people. And it doesn't say anything about who they are as a person or their value as a human being or how good they are or how bad they are. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just a bodily function that most people end up doing. And that's how I feel about sex, sexuality. And if you want to get your freak on, get it on. And if you don't, keep it locked up in a chastity cage. I literally don't care. But it doesn't mean anything about you morally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would basically agree with that, but of course a lot of people are going to lie about, their sexual behavior, and they're going to get, a partner, get a boyfriend, girlfriend or something, fiance or whatever it is, and they're still doing a lot of other sexual behavior and the other person doesn't know about it, and it can become really, really messy and really, really hurt people's feelings. And so that's where I think we're not actually currently in a society, like if that's what she experiences in her social circles, people are like, oh yeah, I sleep around, oh yeah, me too, let's get, like, I don't think that that's the norm at all. I don't even share that experience in anything that I've ever experienced or heard. I've seen people be extremely hurt and extremely hurt by infidelity. So I wouldn't say it's just all okay if you're actually acting on it in a way that's not consensual with the other person.
I think a lot of people are using their personal experiences to define their reality. So you say, like, you grew up religious, they told you don't do this, so obviously you're going to do the exact opposite.
That's not why I am who I am.
But I'm just saying,
I just like getting freaky.
Sure, there could be a middle ground there, though. Like, I think having multiple sex partners, like loosely having sex with different men, not only is it dangerous because you can catch STDs, this is why you guys are having abortions, this is why, you're not desired.
This is why you guys are having abortions from a black girl to a white girl. This is why you guys are having just because you're advocating for the right to have abortions doesn't mean that community is actually having a lot of abortions. Like, that's not, it's the opposite way around, actually.
It's a lot of things that is happening.
I mean, I would say the amount of sex partners I have would indicate I am desired. I mean, that seems like
Are you getting?
But you also just said men
But men value women that they marry, not women that they have sex with. So women that they have sex with.
Oh, but men like feminine clothing, and look, we have feminine clothing on, and men value women. Like, this is the intellectual level here. But yes, it's not a completely wrong point, right?
It's usually just a throwaway.
But again, men who like to have sex like to be with women who like to have sex. So they actually just partner together. Like, that's the reality.
I would disagree.
They just partner.
I don't know about that. Once again, this is where I'm not fully. She's almost kind of painting her ideal world, and I want it to be real for her, and maybe it's real in her social circles, but I don't think that's more broadly true. I think some men will seek more sexual women, and a lot of men, even very sexual men, will seek women who can be like borderline asexual, because it's their kind of assurance of, oh, well, she's not going to cheat on me. She's not going to do anything. She's going to be a good mother because she's not sexual, right? Like, it doesn't really work. I don't think it actually works like that. There must be some evolutionary thing in their brain that maybe it is a good thing. I don't think it ends up working in their favor, but maybe the rates of cheating are slightly lower for a woman who's less sexual. I don't know. I mean, the rates of, like, women conceiving children from out of wedlock are, like, extremely low anyway, in like, depends on your community, depends on what ethnic community, right? But yeah, it's really low anyways. I wouldn't really worry about that as a man, but sorry, losing my track of thought.
Together.
I just personally feel like you guys probably don't ever listen to men. Men like women with a low body count. You could just listen to them and they'll tell you this out of their mouth. You don't have to go looking for this.
But again, this is the conversation. The men I like to date are like me, and they like to have lots of partners because we are good in bed and we're experienced.
But you guys are always
and those men want to have a woman who they own their virginity.
You're
Great,
always
you can have
speaking
them.
for the exception and not the rule, though. Why do you guys in all of your arguments today, you represented the exception and not the rule?
I'm asking why do men prefer women with lower body counts? Is it just innate,
because
or is
these
there
are
a
the
reason?
women that have to bear their
Because
children.
ignorance is bliss, and they
I mean, really, they need to, like, the anti-feminist side here, they really need to flip it around and find men with low body counts, because last time I checked, and it was a while ago, but not that long ago, Black women have really high rates of STDs, STIs, whatever you want to call it, including like AIDS and gonorrhea, and it's probably coming out of prison. And the way it comes out of prison is because their men are like rampantly homosexual in prison. So really, they need to flip this around, stop worrying about the Black women's behavior so much, or the women's behavior so much, and start finding those younger, like well-behaved African American men. Let's focus on their body count, because I think that's where a lot of issues are coming from in their community, really. I don't even know if that's a feminist point. I have no idea, but that's what they should be doing.
don't want to be
These are the women
compared.
that have to bear their children.
Oh, you guys seem to have a problem a little bit with men, like just comments that you're making, but yet you.
I have no problem with men. I'm straight.
Well,
I
you-
love
And also they're saying, yeah, men want low body count because you have to bear their children. You have to bear their children? What are you talking about? Like, okay, but then make the argument. If you're gonna allude to it, we think high body count is shameful because I'm trying to make their argument if they were a little bit more clear about it. Okay, this is not me saying it. This is me trying to speak for. Oh my gosh, I hate it when my finger does that side. Which would be, we think having a high body count is shameful because that's what our men say, because we are basically being a mouthpiece for our men. We are just repeating and parroting what our men say, and our men care about it because maybe this is already where they don't know. They're not, just put the men there. Like, why are the women even there? Because they're just making a worse case for it. Oh, because we have to bear their children. So yeah, women, like people with, trying to remember the data, trying to remember. People who have more sex also have more children. People who have sex with more people also have more children. Like, it just seems to be that people who do more sexual behavior just do more all kinds of sexual behavior. People who watch more porn have more sex. It's really bizarre. It's counterintuitive. We kind of think everyone's kind of equal. People who aren't having sex are watching more porn and masturbating more. No, it's not that way. It's actually all concentrated among like a subset of the population. Like, there are just more sexual people and less sexual people. And that's really inconvenient for anyone. Like, it is not the way that I established my worldview. I never would have thought that, but when you see the data, that's how it plays out.
men.
I
The
just
good
heard.
ones.
I just heard like multiple just negative comments about men. Like
You
they like
do
to put
realize
their.
that men are responsible for 90% of the violent crime.
But you're
You talk-
sleeping with many of them.
Yeah,
so
but
do
we
like.
still, we still love men.
90% of the violent crime, that still does not represent all men. That still would be
Exactly.
the
That's my point,
minority
though, is
of
that
men.
it doesn't
So
represent
men
all
are
men. None of us
awesome. Men
are
are great. They
against-
protect you just like they
We're not
assault
anti-men.
women. They protect women. They fight wars so you don't have to.
There's a lot of jumping between topics. It's really, really frustrating. But yeah, the anti-feminist side is going, wait a second, but if you're so negative about men, but you're still having sex with them, doesn't make sense, because to them, it's like, sex is my value, and I basically use it as a currency to buy a stable relationship and protection and provision from a man. That you buy it by using sex. Like, that's the anti-feminist narrative here on their side. That's their conception. That's how they understand. It's like, it doesn't make sense to, and then it really doesn't make any sense to have casual sex. And it's true, if you conceive it of a currency, basically, it doesn't make sense to just have sex for fun or sex for experimentation, or like these other girls, these feminist girls are saying. Not all of them, but some of them are saying what they're doing. It doesn't, and they're like, but why would you reward men when you don't like men? But it's like, once again, sex is always seen as a payment, as a kind of currency. But you could also say that women going, and I think there's actually some truth either way, women going out and having all this casual sex, which is already going down, by the way, but like, it was probably more so like 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, was more so than now. People have just become a lot more recluse, generally speaking, with all interhuman interaction. but you could say it's kind of an exploitation of men. Could you say it's kind of an exploitation of men? You're taking that small slither of men, like we all know from the Tinder data and all the dating app data, like the 10% or 50% or whatever it is of men that get like most of the swipes and clicks and whatever it is, most of the matches. Is this actually benefiting them? Are they getting a transfer to their bank account? Are they getting a massive like self-esteem boost? It's just draining for them. I don't know. You could say that this is benefiting women because everyone gets a share of the super high quality males. I mean, you could phrase it that way, but if you always see sex as, oh, it's bad for the girl and it's a benefit for the guy, well, how do you ever, like, what sort of life is that? You're gonna live your life thinking of sex like that? It's just so sad. And I understand that for some couples, that's just how it is. But I think that's really, really sad, and breaking out of that is also something that I would support.
Men, they protect you from generally another man. So enough with that.
Okay, that is protecting whom?
But I'm saying
everybody's
I'm not against men.
Okay, but
You
they're
literally
doing
just
it
put
to
words in my
protect
mouth
their.
saying, "Oh, I'm anti-man." I'm not.
I didn't
I'm
say you were
straight.
anti-man.
I f- men, a lot of them.
I didn't say you
No,
were
I'm serious.
anti-man.
I'm
pretty
so
sure
tired
that
of
we
feminists
all
being labeled
love
as
men.
anti-man. We're not. In fact, I think feminists help men because we're trying to relieve a little bit of pressure off of them. Like,
But they're
I'm
not asking for
anti-man.
that. They would rather you just respect them. They would just rather respect. They don't care about none
Just
of the
because
things
we don't
you have
worship
to
men
offer.
doesn't mean that we
Once again, the anti-feminist side, well, I think men just want this. I think men want this. Men want me to dress like this. Men want me to act like this. Is, all you've done is like, you know, the girls in my culture, we learn to understand, like, model the male mind from a young age. It's just survival. But basically, what the black girl on the end has done, and she constantly talks about. But then you got to move beyond it. Oh, men like it when I dress like this. But hey, maybe I want a very specific type of man. Maybe I don't want all men to be attracted to me. Maybe I want a very specific type of guy to be attracted to me. So I'm going to dress in a way that most men don't like. Now that's like, I'm not saying that can't backfire, but that's the sort of thing when you're a bit higher IQ that you will start engaging in this sort of thing. You start playing with it. You're not just like, well, men like this, so I'm going to act like that. It's too simple.
don't like them. I don't put them on a pedestal. I don't treat them like they're princes. I'm not like, oh, what great, amazing dudes. I like men just fine. I'm unfortunately straight too.
She literally said, but they should be on a pedestal. They are awesome. Is that what she said? They're all talking over each other, but I'm pretty sure it's what, I can point with my cursor, hooray. It's what this girl said.
Question on this side, for especially for those of you who love men, right?
Yeah.
Right. What can you tell me something you love about men?
Yeah, some of them have great sense of humor. Some of them are super helpful and funny. And I mean, I like men the same reasons I like women. These are all just human traits. Mm-hmm. You're funny, you're smart, you're good looking, you take care of me.
I do think men can be more funny. Funny men are more funny than like funny women are. There are funny women, but funny men are funnier. Like, they are really funny, and they can be really, really witty. So I think just always saying, that's where I disagree, and that she's like, oh, they have these great traits, and then it's like, oh, but also women do, but they don't as much, right? It doesn't distribute as much.
I have girlfriends like that. I'm not, I
But
mean,
we're not talking about
friends or girls.
We're talking, because you said that a lot of people think feminists hate men. I want to know, without talking about women,
Okay.
only talking about men, what do you like about men? About their uniqueness of being, I'm asking the men lover.
I might skip this. I'm really not interested in this line of questioning. What do you like? Well, what does it matter? Like, you're presenting an ideal for society, talking about sort of historical developments and how society should move forward, and I think that's what this debate should be more about, not about, well, what do you personally like about men? It shouldn't really matter. They should be laying out a view of how male-female dynamics are going to develop from this point forward, or should, or what their preferences are, and things like that. I might skip a little bit. I think it goes for a while.
But I mean, I just don't see men as like a special category that they need to be worshipped in some separate way. Like, oh, men are really the reason why I'm here. I think the reason why I'm here is women. I tend to worship women more than men.
But don't you know that men allow you to have your rights? Because if it really came down to it, they can just overpower you and take all of your rights.
Actually, I have rights because of women. I have rights because women
You have
who
rights
came before
because
me.
of men.
No, I have
I think this is really unhelpful either way. I mean, this is it's so hard to say. Like, if some man 200 years ago advocated for something or wrote something into law or put the hammer, on the court case, he has sister, he has a mother. Like, men go home and there's women and they have relationships with them. Like, we are so shaped, and like women, we are around our brothers when we're growing up, and some of us, yes, some of us know, we have relationships with, some of us have really close relationships with our fathers. We're heavily influenced by that. It's always a give and take. It's not like we're living separately, like we're actually different cultures. And I think that's really, really important to remember. Like, we are not separate cultural groups, men and women. There are certain things that will, like in a lot of families, women will do a lot of the cooking or a lot of the shopping and things like that. So it's maybe around certain topics, there'll be like kind of a mother to daughter. So mother transmits knowledge to the daughters sort of thing. But with education especially, a lot of that is disrupted anyway. Like, we are beyond that point. You're not learning how to do stitching and knitting and sewing and all the things, and all the recipes, passed down in like a little book, written out by hand by your mother, by your grandmother. It's so beautiful and so adorable, and I love all that. And the same with the men. They would be fishing and hunting and God knows whatever their business is, and then repairing things, and it would be the son tagging along with the father, maybe the uncle, maybe the brother, maybe the whatever, and everyone learning kind of in their town and within their family, within their wider family. There would have been just cultural groups, like cultures being passed down like that, and we are just beyond. We are so far outside of that way of cultural transmission. I love that, and I think to some extent, for some people, it might be best to go back to that. But yeah, this sort of idea that, oh, men are responsible for this and women are responsible for that. Well, we're always, people are married, people have children, like, we're always influencing each other. If a man has a daughter and he really cares about her, he's going to start thinking about life through a woman's perspective a little bit. And that's going to influence him without her ever saying. She could be a toddler, she could never say a single word, and it's still going to influence him, and the other way around as well.
Men, women. No, I'm here because of women.
Okay, and if they declare war on you because of your rights, what happens? You all die.
Okay.
What is this? Like, it's like at this point we're in like, we're actually getting angry and we're verbalizing out like fantasies of aggression, because it's a heated, like, there's heat and tension, and she's basically going, well, it's like have you ever been to school? Like, this actually happened in my school when I was like in year 2 or 3, and these girls were having a fight, and they're like, I'm gonna if you're not careful, I'm gonna bring my brother, and he's really tall and really strong, like he's in year 5, and the other girl was like, well, actually my brother's even bigger and bigger and stronger than him, and he's actually gonna beat up your brother because he's in like year 6. And this is basically what we're down to at this point. It's like, our men are going to declare war on you and destroy you. What? Like, what, they're going to declare war on a bunch of women from a different cultural group? What are you talking about?
You're having a hypothetical conversation about something that hasn't happened. I'm having a real conversation about the fact that the reason why I'm able to vote is not because of men, but because of hard-working women.
And who allowed it?
A few good men.
Who allowed these things to happen? Men, not a few. A lot of good men. A lot of good men. Why do you think there are no woman civilizations? Because men will take them down.
If you create gender into...
She's still in this fantasy of, like, I'm not sure, of course, exactly what her fantasy is, but just from hearing is being like, this man just going on like, that's enough. We're going to take down the feminists. Like, wow. And they're like, what is this? But I guess there is so much anger and aggression in this, like, but men are stronger physically speaking. It's like, yeah, but no one's saying they're not. Like, have any of these feminists sat here and gone, they actually haven't, and I'm actually a little bit surprised, but they haven't sat there and gone, yeah, women have done all of science and all of physics and all of chemistry, and like we have built society and we've built technology and we maintain it, and like we can run. They have never made any of those arguments, and that's what she's now actually strawmanning again. The anti-feminist side is strawmanning the feminist side. They're not actually responding to what they're really saying, but they've got this strawman in their head that has not become reality. Now she's just making her arguments into empty space, basically. Oh, you're gonna try to build a separate civilization. Well, it's gonna be like women's civilization. Well, men's civilization is gonna take you down. Okay.
Class, then
not
men are
wrong
also
there.
pedophiles and rapists and criminals by your logic. You realize that, right?
Yes, but guess what? That is the
Yes.
minority
No,
of them.
I would say men are not rapists. Some men who are
The
bad
minority,
do
you
bad
heard
things.
the minority. Most men
That's what, no,
are
we're
not,
not, because
criminals.
I am not treating gender like a class.
Right.
I understand that police officers and soldiers are more often men, but that doesn't mean that men who are not those things suddenly get to be like, actually, I'm doing forced doctrine too. No, you've got a small group of young men who are given fiat authority by a bunch of state men to enact rights that all of us agreed on. That's how democracy works. If you want to treat gender like a class, then you have to say men are soldiers and men are rapists. And I think this is not true. Some men are rapists and some men are soldiers.
Well, it just sounds like, I mean, like, so
Yeah, I think she makes a really good point here as well. Like, so different, isn't it? So different. It's a good point, but so different to like what I came up with when I heard her arguments. But yes, what are you gonna do? Attribute the qualities of some of the group to all of the group, basically. She's saying don't do that. But that being said, this is also like a very typical leftist argument, and I think you still have to be able to say, hey, like, did you know this certain country has the average IQ of this? But then not be blinded to the fact that there might be a very wide distribution. Like in India, there might be obviously plenty, it's a huge country with lots of people, plenty of very intelligent people who are able to do lots of really qualified professions, lots of people in the middle, and also a large cohort of low IQ people. And so the median IQ might not be that. It's kind of like that whole conversation, but for gender and like the way different qualities distribute. So I don't know if this is a fruitful conversation at this point at all.
if a man tells you to do something, you're gonna do it. Do you? I mean, are you a woman
if
who
he's
falls
my
in
husband,
line?
absolutely. Yes, I
If he's your
serve him.
husband,
I'm here
As
to
you said,
serve.
if he's your husband. Yeah, that makes sense. But let's talk.
She's I don't know why she said that, but yeah, I'm here to serve my husband. I'm here to please and serve my husband. It's like, yes, but where's the anti-feminist argument in that? Are you saying this is the right way to do it? Like, there's a reciprocity. You've reached an agreement of reciprocity. You do these things and he does those things. And the traditional model will work for most people. It will work better for most people than something else because it's tried and true and tested, right? That's the argument they should be making. Once again, I'm making the anti-feminist arguments better for them. Don't say, well, I'm here to serve my husband. The men in my life are so great. That's not a good argument. You should say, for most people, even if it sucks, even if you don't like it, but a traditional setup where the woman does these roles and the man does these other roles is going to work best. And then bring your data, and then that's it. That would be the best argument you could make.
About just some random ass man.
If a random man just asked me to do something,
That's what I'm saying. Like you
something
just a
like
minute
what?
ago
Like
said, like,
what?
oh, men, if they could come in and just do this, like they can take our rights from us. It's like, yeah, that's why we're here.
But
We're
that's
here
just to
make
show
sure
you
doesn't
that men
happen.
are not
But
your
you
enemy.
make it sound
That's
like
all
I'm
I'm
supposed to
saying.
fall in line.
But you guys are, everything you're saying is because of the men, because of the patriarchy.
That's not what patriarchy
men
doesn't refer to
are
men.
not
It
your
refers to a system.
enemy.
Yeah, I know.
They're not-
Patriarchy is a system.
I know, but
Okay.
I said because of the patriarchy. Men are not your enemy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that if men didn't want you to have rights, you wouldn't have them. That's what I'm telling you.
So they could be pieces of shit. Like
That just proves that
so
they're not
what?
pieces of shit because you have rights.
But how long have we
Not
had
all
them?
men are pieces
How
of
long
shit.
have we had them?
I think what the anti-feminists are trying to say here is basically don't poke them in too much. Like, they are dangerous and they can form really powerful movements that will enact social change, and they will oppress women again. If you keep acting in a way that's annoying to them, you should kind of be subservient, be submissive, and go into like reciprocal relationships with them. in order to appease them so that we have peace in society, basically. I think I'm getting that pretty right. I think that is sort of the message here. So basically, once again, the both sides are agreeing that men are dangerous, they need to be treated with caution, and that they may very well kind of form of movement that will oppress women's rights. They're agreeing, especially this girl and these girls over here.
How long?
I could say the same thing about black people.
About
I'm not over here
105
complaining
years
about
with
being black in America.
14 countries out of 190 countries, women actually have rights. And what those rights are, there's like a whole chart, but only 14. Like if you go anywhere else in the world, your rights can be taken away just because of the body you have. And like we're very grateful to be in this country where we do have rights, but we've only had them for 105 years. We have to defend those rights against the bad men that are openly talking about repealing the 19th and like women should stay in the kitchen. Like it's not all men.
It's not all men.
I have great men in my life. I love them. I just hung out with one of them last night, and it's like they're so caring. I do love men. I just don't love all men. I hate abusive men. And good men know that when we're talking about them.
Can I ask one question? What would it take for you guys to no longer be feminism, to say, feminists, to say, hey, we have all equal rights now, we have everything we need. When does the movement stop? Because it seems like it never stops.
It's not going to stop because they now have already overturned Roe v. Wade. We've seen a right that we fought for and won taken back. So now we have to come back to the fight.
They overturned it to give it to the states, which means the people within those states can vote on how they want to do things.
Well, then it's not a right. If it can be stopped at an invisible line, then it's not a right anymore.
It was
and that's
never
why we're
supposed to
here
be
fighting
there
for
in
those
the
rights.
first place. It's not in the Constitution. It was never supposed to be there in the first place.
Neither was the women's right to vote or anything else. Like,
I personally, very controversial, I don't think women should vote. Because we get women like this that say all of these crazy things.
You don't vote then, right?
No, I do vote.
Why? Lead by example. This is what I'm saying. You're all here using your voice to tell me that you don't want one.
I have to combat women like you, so I have to vote.
No, you're using your voice to tell me you don't want a voice, so go home.
That's why men are more logical, because you guys are always on the wrong side of issues. That's what it is. You don't even know why you're doing the things that you're doing. You just do things, and then you blame men.
let me tell this, like, I'm going to say this right now, and I hope this gets on camera, and let me say this. Being on the side of a woman's right to vote is never the wrong side of an issue. Every person here is a human being. Voting is a human right. I won't sit here and have a conversation about repealing.
She's very passionate and very strong in her words, and then this curly head tattooed girl over there is like pulling faces and giggling. I don't know what it is with this girl. It's extremely off-putting, very uncomfortable. Basically laughing in someone's face because what, she's getting emotional, she feels passionate. You're meant to be emotional and passionate about the topic if you're going to go on the panel to talk about it. I don't feel particularly passionate about this side of the topic because it's almost like this sort of faith in, well, if you have the vote, then you actually get to decide the direction of your country. And if that was the case, like if I could actually vote for things that are important to me and that matter to me, there are things in society that annoy me. Like I care about medical freedoms. I care about infrastructure for my children. Just there are things that affect me. If I felt like, oh, I can go and cast my vote and affect this issue, then I think I would feel more passionate about voting. I think there are a lot of people on I'm not saying on one side of something, but like all over the political spectrum, we've just given up on the idea of voting. This just feels like nothing ever, the political system sort of just progresses anyway and does what it wants. But she obviously, to her, and that's kind of sweet, you know, she still has this sort of faith in that system and thinks it's really, really important that women vote because then things that women care about will be enacted. I guess. I don't know if it really happens that way, to be honest.
Human rights and pretend that that's a normal conversation to be having. Women deserve the right to vote because we are human beings. We deserve to be treated like humans, and we are not more emotional than men. When a man throws a remote at a television and breaks it after a football game, then have a conversation with me about who's more emotional.
The other thing, though, about the voting thing, though, for me, is that this country was founded because of taxation without representation. And so if women don't vote, then I'm not going to pay then we shouldn't pay taxes, right? Because that's taxation without representation.
Yeah, you don't
I think every single woman in the room is agreeing on that. Like, yeah.
That's why we
work
founded
either.
this
That's
country.
the point. Your man would pay the taxes. That is
My
exactly
man,
the
what is
point. You
happening
won't
here?
work.
Don't wanna
You
pay
What world?
Okay.
I don't know.
I actually wanted to answer your question. You asked about body count, coming back to body count, which was the last prompt. And you said, why do men want
I
a
think they had to put a cut in the editing because everyone was agreeing that women shouldn't pay tax. It's like, what?
woman with a low body count? And the answer is because we're not equal. And again, this is going to always be the fallacy and the flaw with feminism because you're going to be fighting for an equality that does not exist. I'm not saying better or worse. I'm saying we are different. Now, it depends on what you want intimacy for. If you want to be out there doing it with everybody, you absolutely have your right to do that. Please be loud and proud. We want to see you coming. The men love women like that to have fun with. However, when you
This is the anti-feminist position. I want you to have the right to go and sleep around and do whatever you want because, yeah, men also love that. It's like, this woman is very real and I really like her. But also, you're meant to represent the anti-feminist perspective. You're meant to say how it's bad and no one should be doing it kind of thing. Like, okay. But yeah, I sort of, once again, like I said earlier, like I said at the beginning, I have to sort of accept that the things that they say represent their movement. I just have to sort of just accept it. So we're okay with men walking away from pregnant women that they got pregnant. Remember earlier? According to anti-feminists, a woman makes a choice to get pregnant. A man is not really liable for anything that happens after that. And now also, it's totally okay if women sleep around because the men like it.
talk about love, when you talk about marriage, when you talk about
It really shouldn't be called anti-feminist. It should be called like representing men's interests, and then the other side should be called representing women's interests, because that's much more honest on what's being debated here, quite apart from their cultural differences, constant cultural differences.
committed relationship. Most of us, when you get to your old age, usually you have one, if you're lucky, like me, two great loves. You don't think about the string of casual sex that has been promoted and think of that like, man, I really got it all in. Most of us don't. You're free to do that if you want to, but I'm just saying, as we age, what's going to really matter is the relationships, the marriages, the families, the relationships that meant something, the intimacy that meant something. You can do as much as you want to with whoever you want to, but I do agree the way casual sex is promoted now, it is hurting us. It may be fun in the moment, but it's going to hurt us, and we're all going to pay the price for it.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing. This was a really interesting discussion. I thank you for your voices and your honesty. I hope that everyone watching online is able to glean something from this conversation and let us know in the comments what you think, what your opinions are on what we discussed today. And until next time, bye-bye.
I nearly got scared that there would be a part 3. There's no part 3. That's good. Yeah, the end became a little bit less interesting. Anyway. Oh. It is like mentally draining to keep up with the back and forth and talking over the top of each other. And also trying to kind of think in my mind, I'm like, okay, is this something worth commenting on or not? Or like, are they saying enough? Is there anything to add to that or not? Yeah. There are other links. We're definitely going to call it a night for tonight. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to talk about a certain topic, you can email me or let me know. Join the Telegram where I put the stream like links. I usually schedule for like 8:30 and then there's like a countdown. I think pretty sure there's a countdown. There should be anyway. Oh, sorry, someone just messaged me. That's really distracting, isn't it? That's not good. Anyway, it's late. Good night, everyone.